I finally finished my greeting card book that I've been working on for what seems like forever. But I really like the way it turned out. It started out with just some greeting cards. I talked a couple videos ago about how I've cleaned out, or at least started cleaning out, some of my stash of greeting cards that I compulsively keep because I can't throw them away. So I'm kind of trying to get over that and only keeping the cards that are special. You know, I've got 15 cards from some grandmother. I don't need to keep all 15. I just need to keep a couple of them and let the others go. And that's really hard for me. But I'm doing it. And I'm glad, you know, and now that I've done this, I think it'll be easier, because when I cleaned out the first time, I ended up with 200 cards. This is how bad my stash is. I ended up with 200 cards to play with, to begin with. But now that I'm more comfortable messing with them, I'm going to go back through the ones that I kept and see if I can weed those down even further, which I'm pretty sure that I can. But for now, you know, I've still got 170 cards left to play with. So, yeah, I'm not really hurting for greeting cards anytime soon. This started out with, and I did film some of the process and then decided that it was not even fun to watch because it looks like every other process video I've done. Like on my painted backgrounds, that's what I did on the cards. So I just didn't see any sense in showing it again because it's the same thing. It's just, you know, smush the paint on with a credit card or a brush or your elbow or, you know, whatever. And then I just use scraps of paper from my, I have a couple of drawers of scrap paper, and just stuck them on there. When it was dry, I went through my cardstock stash and just pulled out, you know, cut pieces that I needed to get rid of. Put them in there for some blank areas to write on or to stick pictures or something. And then I edged all of the cards with a, you know, marker, you know, help me, pit pens. That's it. Those Faber-Castell pit pens, the big brush ones, because they're real blendy. If you put them on to, like this was a painted background, so it's not really doesn't really have a sealer on it, but the paint was built up enough to where it made the pit pens blendy, so I could just put them on there and rub them, and so it looked all smudgy like that. So anyway, that was the process, and I will make another something out of these. These are the ones I didn't use. And this is a straight off of Jennibellie's video that she did for making I think she called it a greeting card journal. I'm not sure. I think that's what she called it, and I just did exactly, pretty much I think, exactly what she did in hers. Because her binding method was a little unusual, but after I started playing with it, I couldn't come up with anything better. You know, I mean, what she came up with works great, and you know, I got the job done. So I just, you know, didn't feel the need to reinvent the wheel. I just did what she said to do. I tied mine on with, I think she had added beads to hers, and I didn't want any beads. I just liked the look of all different fibers, so I tied my pages in, each one with a different decorative fiber. And the covers are two large greeting cards, and then the spine is a long skinny one that I had wrapped around there. And this is the little, you know, hair elastic deal, and a button I sewed on for the closure. And inside are some of my painted papers. The covers are my painted papers too. I just use some of those just to use them. And you can see each page or signature is tied in with some kind of decorative fiber. And I also put a piece of cardstock inside each one, so it has extra places to put stuff. I don't know what kind of stuff. I have no idea what to actually put in here. I may give this away. I don't know. But anyway, when I figure it out, I've got all kinds of space. And that's all there was to it. This is a little pocket I put right here. And I had something to go in it, and I don't know what I did with it. But I've got another one in here. So I did a couple pockets. See, there's one. And that was one of my painted papers. And I need to wax these so they don't stick. That's just a little book. There we go. Some of the cards have fold-outs. So there we go. And I just made sure that I trimmed the edge so that it wouldn't be too far up in the middle and make it not open right. So that's basically all there was to it. This was really, really time consuming, probably because of all the painting and collaging that I did. And I like the way it turned out, but I'm not willing to do another one like it real soon, just because it was so time consuming. I did put a piece of washi tape or some kind of decorative tape on the spine of most of them, because with all the painting and stuff that I did on them, some of them were starting to fall apart, you know, because I used a lot of wet media on them. So I did that so they wouldn't completely fall apart. And, you know, sometimes I left part of the card showing through, sometimes not. And that's it. But I really love this. I love the way it looks. I love the way it feels. I don't know what to do with it, but I've got it. And I'm happy with it. So there's that. And I'm starting another one because, you know, I still got lots of greeting cards to go through. And okay, my next, I know I keep messing with this. This is soothing to me. This is, yeah, I could just sit here and do this all day. This makes me happy. That's enough of that. My next book I'm working on, or journal or whatever, I'm going to use, I pulled out some cards that were all the same size. I don't know how many, just, you know, some. And because I wanted to do a different binding. I don't want to do that binding again. I want to do like thinking maybe a Coptic binding on this one, since they're all the same size. That would be easy. But when I was working on this book, and I was using some scraps, you know, scrap papers in here. I used mostly lightweight tissue papers and napkins and things like that. Not real bulky, decorative cardstock scrapbook paper pieces, you know, but mostly thin-bodied stuff. Like that's a napkin. And I also used some paints that there were my tube paints that were like almost empty but not quite, and I really wanted to just use them up and get rid of them. So that's how I chose the color scheme, and it really doesn't have a color scheme. I just based the color on whatever color the card was to begin with, so that I wouldn't have to work too hard at covering anything. So I did accomplish my goal pretty well of using up some paints that needed to be used up, and I did use some papers that I was needing to kind of weed out, but I still had a bunch of cardstock or heavy paper scraps to go through, because I keep those in a separate drawer from my tissue paper scraps. So I wanted to weed out some more scrapbook paper scraps because I have too many. And I started thinking about this book. Remember this one, my Use It Up journal? If you look back in some of my videos, I don't know, I guess about a year ago, I showed this journal several times while I was making it. But it was for using up scraps and images that had been in my stash for years and years, and I was not using them. I mean, seriously, I just looked at them for years and didn't use them, and it was driving me crazy. So I stuck them in this book just to use them up and make room. And my favorite pages in this book are the color themed ones. Let me find one. See, like that one. That's kind of a teal. I just went through and found all of my turquoisey teal images and scraps and put it here. And see, there's a gold one. And I love that. I love doing that, and then I love going back and looking at the color themed pages. This book is just a delight to flip through, I have to tell you. There's green. So, and you can see it's just scraps of whatever. And it's a cahier, a Moleskine cahier, which is very similar to a composition book. So, and it's done in that sort of composition book journal style. So anyway, I kept thinking about these color themed pages and how much I love them and how fun they were to, you know, dig through and find what would match and what would go, and I wanted to do that again. So that's what I'm going to do again, because even though I used up quite a few scraps in that ginormous book, I've still got more. So I started with my cards all the same size and started using some of my scrapbook paper, decorative paper scraps that were just more heavy bodied, and just put them on. And then almost all of them are rectangle or square because they've been cut down off the end of a sheet. You know, they're what was left after I cut the piece that I needed. They're all, almost all, see that one's got some curve to it, but they're almost all kind of square. And when I'm doing normal collage, that irritates me, and I usually tear the edges because I like torn edges. But for this, I kept most of them just like they were, with the cut edge, and then did it like this arrangement in kind of squares and rectangles. And I don't know, I call it square collage. That's just, you know, that to me, that is just what I'm talking about when I mean doing some kind of a excuse me, collage or layering where you don't tear the paper to make it blend. You know, it's kind of, it's like plaid, sort of. Yes, it's a plaid card. I don't know. But anyway, that's what I did. And I did one side, and I just used some Elmer's, watered down Elmer's, because, you know, I had to use a lot of it. And I don't want to go broke buying Mod Podge for all this. So watered down Elmer's, glued everything down on one side, and like this was a long strip, and I just put it here, left the end here, and then when it dried, flipped it over and folded all the tails in and glued them down. So I didn't trim any ends off unless it was a torn edge hanging off that I didn't want. So yeah, that's what I did. I did this kind of pinkish one, and then I did this greenish one, like that. And I don't know where they're going to go after this, because I'm just going to keep doing this on all of these, and you know, until I get tired of it, and then I'll figure out what to put in them as far as images. I mean, like, really, I almost don't even want to, because this makes me happy, just like it is. This, I don't know why, this just makes me happy. So I don't know, it might just end up being like this. But I'll probably put some kind of a decorative tape on the folded edge just to reinforce it so I can bind it. And then I think they would look cool in a Coptic binding. So anyway, that is my plan for the next greeting card book. And This is the first one. Thank you very much, Jennibellie, for all of your help and inspiration. I think this is just a brilliant idea, not only using the greeting cards, but this binding is just stinking genius, if you ask me. And some of these fibers were not really strong enough. See, I'm just using an excuse to do this. Okay, some of these fibers were not really strong enough to hold the cards in, because you got to tie them pretty tight. You don't want them wiggling around in there. So for those that were not really strong enough to hold on their own, I just doubled them up. I paired them with another, sturdy fiber that's actually doing the holding, and this is just, decoration. And someone's at my door. Okay. Okay, I think that's my cue that I'm done. The end.